Alrighty. I'm going to add everything to the Facebook groups. Do. Well, once the video pops up. We'll get going right at 1 o'clock. Share it in front of the groups. I'm just sharing the live stream to the Facebook group so everybody can see them. All right, we got to hit one more group. There we go. All right. So like I said, we'll get going right at 1 o'clock. So we got a couple more minutes to let people come in. I got to come here. All right, I'm good to go. Hope everybody's doing well today. If you could, let me know. Give me like a little thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me all the way back here, because I will be back here at the tees doing some demonstrations, but I'll also be up at the computer. So if you can hear me all the way back here, please give me a thumbs up. That way I can make sure that my microphone's working properly. Oh. Alrighty. So we'll get going in about 2 minutes. We'll let some more people join in, let people see the streams, and we will get rolling. Andrew with the thumbs up. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome in. Hope everybody's doing good on Master Sunday. I know the golf tournament is going on today, and then once we get done with this live, I will be heading home to watch the end of that too. Wanted to get this done early. Malika, however you pronounce your name, with the thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining in on the live stream. Like I said, I do these every week. That way y'all can come in and ask me questions about hitting. All right. Like I said, a lot of people are getting our products, are getting our bats. And I want to make sure that you understand how to use them and make sure that you get the results. So the reason I do these lives every single week is I'm going to share information that I wish that I knew and that I wish that I had whenever I was growing up, because something like this would have changed my career a lot more than it did later in my career. So I didn't really understand all this stuff until I was already a senior in high school. So this is the information I'm going to share today, something I wish that I knew when I was, 11, 12, 13 years old. So I just never had the coach, never had the person to teach me what I'm going to teach you right now. All right. Jesse with the thumbs up. Thank you, Jesse. Welcome in. Like I said, as we get going as well, you can see that we do have the comment section. If I'm explaining something and it just doesn't make sense, you want me to elaborate a little bit more, please let me know in the comment section and I will go into more detail or to more depth. Okay. And if you have a question about hitting in general, any questions that you have, just put them in the comment section, and I'm going to make sure everyone's questions get answered before we get off of this live stream today. Okay. So it is 1 o'clock and we will get rolling here. All right. So like I said already, Ted said, Trey, can you talk a little today about young kids and thoughts on getting, thoughts on getting over being afraid of getting hit by a pitch, if you have any thoughts. That's obviously an issue that a lot of kids have, is the fear of getting hit by the ball. You'll hear coaches throw like tennis balls at their kids to make sure that they kind of understand how to get hit by a pitch. that's a big piece of it as well, because if a ball is coming at you, you need to understand how to protect yourself, right? So obviously you want to be able to turn in and kind of get hit in the back as opposed to getting hit in the side, in the ribs, so on and so forth. So, and I'll tell you, Ted, I actually had the exact issue of getting hit, because whenever I was 13 years old, I actually had my 2 front teeth knocked out. So my 2 front teeth here are fake. So I was sliding into home plate, and there was a pass ball. So catcher misses it, goes to the backstop, and I'm on third base. I'm running to home plate. I slide into home, and the ball, the catcher threw it back to the pitcher. It tipped off the pitcher's glove and hit me right in the mouth, knocked my 2 front teeth out. So my 2 front teeth were literally on home plate. I mean, it was traumatic as a 13-year-old kid looking down and seeing your teeth on the plate. So as you probably already know, I was hysterical, right? But coming out of that, obviously I had to have surgery, had to have my teeth put back in, all that good stuff. And whenever I started playing again, I was scared to go back out to the field. So at the time, I was addicted to video games. So I just stayed home and played video games. And once I was actually healed, I remember telling my dad, like, I think I'm done playing baseball. I don't want to go out and play anymore. I'd rather just stay home and play video games. And thankfully, my dad was like, I'm not hearing that. Get up, get your stuff. We're going to practice, because we had tryouts for the high school that year. So literally my baseball career almost ended after I got my 2 front teeth knocked out. But the thing that made me get back up on the saddle was just getting back into the game type situations. Yeah, I was scared to get hit at first, but like I said, you'll start gradually getting a lot more comfortable with it. So whenever you have kids that are scared of the ball, just reps obviously are going to help. The comfortability of being in the box is going to help. So like my son, I mean, he's only 5 years old. So we're not talking like, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. He's 5, intimidated of the ball whenever I started tossing the ball to him. But every time his first move, he'd be stepping out of the box. He'd be stepping out because he was afraid to get hit. And over time, I just constantly kept giving him reps, making him understand, like, you're not going to get hit by the ball. All right. And even if he does, we use a tennis ball. Even if you get hit with a tennis ball, it's not going to hurt. Right. So one of the key things, obviously, is to get the reps, to get their comfortability in the box up, but also teaching the kid how to get hit also would play a big role into helping them. So I hope that helps. All right. All Sports Central. Hey, Trey. Hello. Welcome in. All right. So we'll get rolling. It's 1:04 now. So I'll just say, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Trey Sykes. I am the owner of CamWood Bats. And the reason I do these lives every single week is because I want to be able to provide the information to you that I wish that I knew when I was growing up, okay? Because I didn't have the type of coaching or the level of coaching whenever I was growing up to teach me the proper way to hit. And then once I did meet that coach, that's when my career took off. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to teach you the things that I learned that really skyrocketed my career in such a quick way. Like virtually overnight in high school, I became I wouldn't say a dominant hitter, but I would say a complete hitter. Okay. I was able to hit the ball gap to gap with power. And that's exactly what I'm going to share with you today, is how to do that. Okay. So like I said, I'm Trey Sykes. I'm the owner of CamWood. And if there was one thing that I was known for during my college career, it was hitting. Okay. That wasn't always the case. See, my junior year in high school, I finished the season with a 180 batting average. And as you know, a 180 batting average is not very good, right? I was a backup first baseman. And just to be honest with you, I sucked at hitting. I was not a good hitter. And as a first baseman, that's what you're supposed to be known for, right? So I remember after my junior season, we had about 2 weeks until our first summer ball game. And I knew that I only had one season left. I had my senior season, and if I didn't improve drastically, this was going to be my last year playing baseball, right? So I wanted to put some more effort into it to see if I could get a little bit better for this last season. So we have about 2 weeks until our first summer ball game. So me and my buddy grab a bucket of balls and we head down to the batting cages after practice one day just to get some extra swings in, okay? And I'm down there hitting, I'm yanking, I'm pulling everything. right? Because I mean, I was just struggling to barrel the ball up. And as I'm hitting, I noticed this random guy walk up behind me. Literally, never seen this guy a day before in my life. And you can tell when someone's just staring at you. You get that feeling that like they're just looking at you, right? And I could just tell he was watching me. And I'm struggling to make consistent contact. And he stops me in the middle of my round and he says, "Hey, why don't you try to hit the ball to the opposite field?" And I look at this dude. I'm like, who is this guy? Right? I promise, never seen the guy a day before in my life. And he's trying to like critique me and ask me why I'm not hitting the ball the opposite field. So I tried to prove him wrong. I tried to hit the ball to the other side and I couldn't do it. I just didn't know how. Right. So after that round was over, I step out of the cage and he walks up to me and he says, "Hey, if you focus on it and you put in the time and the effort, I will teach you how to hit." So literally, I just hit 180. I had nothing to lose, right? And I have this random dude just say, "Hey, I will teach you how to hit if I just put in the time and effort." I'm like, well, I guess. Like, I finally have one dude that's trying to teach me how to hit. So I took him up on his offer and I came back the next day and we started working together. And he had me training with this weird looking bat right here. And I remember him bringing it up to me. It's like, "Hey, I want you to use this." I'm like, "What is this thing? That's an ugly looking bat," right? That's what everybody's reaction is. It's like, "What is that thing?" I used to get literally pointed and laughed at whenever I was in college using this on deck. But anyway, we start working together and come to find out, this guy's name was Frank Gregory. And Frank is actually the founder and the creator of this bat right here. Okay. And the reason that Frank was at my high school that day is because he had just invented this bat and he was coming up there to find some random high school kid to see if this bat and this concept would work. And I just so happened to be the kid in the cage that day when he drove up. So I literally became the guinea pig for this bat right here, which is crazy to think about. So like I said, we had 2 weeks leading up to our first summer ball game. Me and Frank are in the cage working together every day for those 2 weeks. And he has me training with this bat right here. So we get to my first summer ball game and we're playing our crosstown rival. And as you know, you do not want to lose to your crosstown rival in high school, right? So I remember they had a lefty on the mound and the lefty threw me a two-seamer that cut right back over the middle of the plate. And I just put a good swing on it. I said, up to that point, I had never felt the ball come off my bat the way that ball did. And I ended up hitting my first high school home run out to left center. So I'm sure you know, as I'm rounding the bases, a kid that just hit 180 was a backup first baseman. You could not wipe the smile off my face as I was rounding those bases. All right. I still remember hitting third base and I'm jogging towards home plate to touch home plate. And I look up in the stands and my parents are going crazy. My dad's over there high-fiving everybody, just going nuts. I'll have that image ingrained in my head forever. So I touch home plate. I go back in the dugout and I sit down. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is the process that I need to stick to. Like, this is it. What I just did for those 2 weeks worked. Okay. So during this entire offseason, that's what I need to focus on. And I need to go all in with it. So I did. And just fast forward, my senior season of high school, I hit over 300 for the first time in my career. So I went from a 180 hitter to a 300 hitter pretty much overnight. And then end up walking on in college, and I become a Division I All-American in college. Okay, so I literally went from a 180 batting average my junior year of high school to becoming a Division I All-American in just 3 seasons after I started training with this bat right here. Okay, and it's not just this bat that's going to do the trick. It's what Frank taught me is what took my career to that next level. Okay, this bat, this tool right here is going to help you. But obviously, the mechanical side and the drills that Frank was having me do is what took my game to that next level. Because Frank learned from guys like Tony Gwynn and Rod Carew. So if you don't know who those two guys are, between Tony and Rod, they had 15 batting titles in the MLB. So they knew a thing or two about hitting. Okay, so Frank learned from those guys, and he was just doing the drills that he learned from them with me, and that's when I started seeing that crazy spike in my performance. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this live session right here is I'm going to share with you exactly what Frank taught me. okay? Because this is the information that I wish that I had at a much younger age, okay? So I'm going to give this information out to you for free today. And if you have any questions while I'm going through this, please get in the comment section, okay? Let me know. That way you can leave this live stream learning something about hitting, all right? That's the goal for this. I hope everybody here walks out learning something about hitting, all right? So Ted said, love that. Thanks. I'm going to show that to my 10-year-old. I appreciate that, Ted. Yeah, like I said, the main thing is just getting the comfortability in the box, man. If they're afraid, they just have to overcome it just through reps. And then, like I said, obviously understanding how to get hit whenever the ball is coming at them. Because, I mean, it's going to hurt, right? It's going to hurt. You just have to make sure that you can limit the blow. All right? So everybody asked me the question, what did Frank teach you, right? What changed for you to go from the 180 hitter to hitting over 300 pretty much overnight? And I'll tell you, the big change was my mechanics. Okay. It's what Frank was teaching me those 2 weeks leading up to my first summer ball game. And to me personally, I think it's the number one key to hitting. Okay. Because this trait is what every single great hitter that's ever played the game of baseball or softball has in common. Okay. Obviously, everyone has all these different stances. Everybody's swings are different. But at the end of the day, your greatest hitters in the game all do one thing, okay? And that one thing is what I learned that helped skyrocket my career, okay? And that one thing is they learn how to stay inside the ball, all right? And now I already know it. Everyone's like, well, I know what that means. I've heard that term over and over and over again, right? But do you actually know what it means to stay inside the ball or why you want to do it? Well, I'm going to share with you exactly why we want to do that, okay? So I'm going to come back here to the tees. And what I have here set up, this is going to be a demonstration of a fastball coming into the hitting zone, okay? So I have 3 balls lined up right here in a row, okay? We're mimicking the fastball coming into the zone. So the biggest issue that I had whenever I was a junior in high school, and the reason I struggled, and the reason I see so many other players out there in today's game struggle, is because they try to pull the ball, okay? As you know, a lot of players are trying to pull the ball. Well, why are they doing that, right? The reason I pulled the ball is because I thought the only way that I could have or do damage and hit home runs was by pulling it, right? And that's what a bunch of players have, that same thought process of, if I want to hit this ball out of the ballpark or hit it for a double, I have to pull it, okay? And that is false, all right? And I was the exact same way. I thought that I had to pull the ball to do damage. So I want to show you exactly what happens when you try to pull a pitch, okay? So if I'm lined up right here and I'm thinking about hitting this middle pitch, okay, I'm going to hit this middle ball. So if I want to take that middle ball and I want to try to pull it to the pull side, here's what has to happen. My hands have to go out away from my body and around the line of the pitch coming in order for me to hit this ball and pull it to the pull side, right? So what happens when I do that? I want you to pay attention to that. When my hands go out away from my body to come around this ball to pull it, what happens if I'm a little bit late? I get jammed, right? If I'm perfectly on time, I can barrel that ball up and I can have some success. But if I catch the ball out front at all, if I'm forward on an off-speed pitch, I'm hitting that ball off the end of the bat, or I'm swinging and missing, getting weak contact every single time, okay? And that's why you see dead pull hitters hit 180, 190, 200, because their timing has to be perfect in order for them to barrel the ball up and have some success, okay? So if I ask you that question, if I go and I'll go and I'll do these hitting clinics and all this good stuff, and I'll ask the players there, how often are you perfectly on time? I mean, you step up to the plate and you absolutely crush that ball, right? When you ask that question, most of the answers are going to be about 1 out of 10 at bats, about 10% of the time, okay? So 10% of the time, your timing is perfect and you square that ball up. So I'm sure you've heard the terms, get your timing down, get your timing down. Hitting is about timing, right? Well, hitting is not about what you do when your timing is on. Hitting is about what you do when your timing is just off. What do you do those other 90% of your at-bats when you're just a little bit late on that ball, or you're full on an all-speed pitch and you're just out front? Are you still able to barrel that pitch up and have some success? Okay, so here's why staying inside the ball is so important, because it's going to increase the chance that you barrel the ball up even when your timing is off. Okay, because obviously we're off on our timing more than we're on time, right? So if I get into my stance here and I'm focused on hitting this middle pitch again, but instead of trying to pull it, I'm going to stay inside the ball. And I'm going to drive it back up the middle. Okay. So if I'm hitting this middle pitch and instead of coming around it, I'm going to get connected first, and then I'm going to stay inside the ball. Well, now look what happens if I'm a little bit late. I barrel that ball up. I'm able to shoot it to right field for a single, essentially jetering the ball, right? If I'm perfectly on time, I am crushing that ball and I'm driving that right back up the middle. And if I'm full on an off speed pitch, I'm a little bit out front, all I'm doing now is just catching that ball a little bit more out front, and I'm driving that ball to left center field gap now instead of back up the middle. Okay? So staying inside the ball is extremely important because it allows you to have more adjustability in your swing. Okay. You can be a little bit late, you can be a little bit out front, and you can still barrel the pitch up. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. That was one of the biggest things, like the biggest light bulb moment that went off in my head whenever I was a hitter in high school that just launched my career. Because at first I was a dead pull hitter, which my timing had to be perfect to square the ball up. And then I became a hitter that stayed inside the ball, and I could drive it from gap to gap with power. And once I learned the concept of staying inside the ball, that's when my batting average went up over 300. All right. So my very first year after learning this was my senior season of high school. I hit like 305, 310, somewhere right around that range. I went from 180 to 305, 310 right out of the gates. Okay. And then I walk on in college. And my first year in college, I hit 360. And then my second year of college, I hit 385. So literally, as I learned this concept and I kept building and I kept growing, my averages kept going with it. And that's how I became an All-American. Okay. So that concept right there is extremely important. And if you take one thing from this live session, it is the importance that if you want to be a complete hitter, you want to hit the ball to the opposite field with power, you want to pull the ball with power, you have to stay inside the ball. Okay. Ingrain that in your head. Stay inside the ball. I don't care if it's an outside pitch, a middle pitch, an inside pitch. You always stay inside of it. Okay. Because that's going to lengthen the amount of time that your sweet spot or your barrel of the bat is in the hitting zone. Okay. That's how you're going to be able to spray balls with power. All right. So let me go through some questions here. What's a good drill to help staying inside the ball with your timing? Good question. I'll hit on that right now. Would you suggest using the CamWood also on game days? Frankie, 100%. If you're on game day, you're going to the cage probably 20, 30 minutes before you have to be there to go get your drill work in, okay? Every single day before practice, before games, I'm in that cage getting my swings in with the CamWood hand and speed trainer. I mean, obviously, I was one of the first kids to ever use this bat, and I saw what it did for me in my career. So I kind of live and breathe this thing. So literally, if I wasn't in a game, I was using the CamWood hand and speed trainer. If I'm in practice, I'm hitting BP with it. If I'm doing extra work off machines, I'm using the CamWood hand and speed trainer. I'm telling you, if it wasn't a game type situation, I was using the CamWood bat. I still to this day love this bat because I saw what it did for me in my career. So yes, use the hands and speed trainer. All right. Hey Trey, what advice would you give a kid to help with their mental approach when going up to bat? That is a great question. I'm about to get into that right now, actually. But first, I want to talk to, I don't know if it's Malika or Malika, but you said, what's a good drill to stay inside the ball? So obviously we have a bunch of drills that we teach inside of our All-American 30-day program, but I will share with you one quick tip real quick, okay? So this is something that when I start working with a player, like if they're not going through our All-American 30-day program, I'll just teach them this simple drill, this simple trick right here to help you stay inside the ball, okay? Because I'm all about simplicity, okay? I want to simplify my swing as much as possible in what I'm thinking of as a hitter while I'm doing it, okay? So I'm working with a young kid, and I'm wanting to teach them kind of the basic concept of staying inside the ball and how to do it. So I will set up a tee on the outside part of the plate, okay? So this is going to be about middle away to away, okay? Me, I'm a bigger dude. I'm 6'4". I have longer reach. So I can put this ball on the top right corner of the plate and reach it no problems. But if you're, 8, 9, 10 years old, you can move this tee into about middle away. That's no problem at all, all right? So I set this tee up on the outside. And the reason for that is because the only way that I can drive this ball on the tee to the opposite field gap with backspin is staying inside the ball, okay? If I come around the ball at all on this outside part of the plate, I'm going to hit a ground ball back up the middle, or if I do hit it to the opposite field, it's going to have side spin, okay? So the only way that I can drive this pitch with backspin to the opposite field gap is by staying inside this ball, okay? So we set it up on the outer half of the plate. When we get into our stance, most kids have heard the term before, knob to the ball, right? A lot of people have heard that. I mean, I heard that my entire life growing up, knob to the ball, knob to the ball. So a player will get on the tee and they'll say, okay, knob to the ball, knob to the ball. Well, if I'm focusing on that ball on the tee and I'm thinking knob to the ball, look what happens. My knob is going to go out away from my body towards the ball on the tee, okay? So when my knob goes out, that's going to force me to roll over, okay? My hands are going away from my body. I'm coming around the ball, and I'm going to be hitting balls right back up the middle, okay? So whenever we're hitting off of the tee, we're not thinking knob to the ball on the tee, okay? So if I ask you that question of, well, where does the ball come from in game? Obviously, the ball comes from the pitcher, right? So whenever you hear the term knob to the ball, it's not knob to the ball here on the tee. It's knob towards the pitcher, okay? I hope you understand that, all right? So whenever you hear knob to the ball, even I will say that, take your knob to the ball, okay? Well, that's coming from an in-game type situation. So if the ball is coming from the pitcher, you are going to take that knob to the ball towards the pitcher, okay? So when we're hitting off of this tee right here, I want, as a hitter, to focus your first move is going to be you getting connected right away, which is going to allow your hands to stay inside the ball, okay? So as a hitter, if I'm in this stance right here, I'm set up with the ball on the outside part of the plate, and I'm going to try to drive this to the opposite field gap, okay? So if I get into my stance as the hitter, the only thing I'm thinking of right now is taking this knob straight down this white line on this mat in front of me towards the pitcher, okay? Because your first move, no matter what, outside pitch, middle pitch, inside pitch, your first move is going to be connection. It's going to be getting in the right slot in order to allow your hands to stay inside the ball, okay? So my first move is going to be this knob straight down the white line on this mat. I'm thinking of pulling, boom, right into connection, okay? I want to pull that knob straight into connection, and then my eyes are going to tell me that the ball is on the outside part of the plate, and then my top hand is going to deliver the barrel, and I'm going to get a good extension through it and drive that pitch to the opposite field gap, okay? So if you're talking or teaching a kid how to stay inside the ball, we need them to understand that their first move is going to be this knob straight down the white line in front of them on that mat to get connected first, all right? And once we get connected, then the top hand is going to throw the barrel through the ball. All right, we get the proper extension through it. All right, so as a hitter, I'm thinking about driving my hands down this white line to stay inside the ball, okay? And the reason for that is because it's going to get me connected first and connected right away, all right? So if you don't have a mat like this, hitting on something like this, all you have to do is put down a visual, put down a piece of duct tape in front of them, put down a string, whatever it may be, okay? Something visual that a kid can see, and he can tell himself, okay, I'm going to take my hand straight down that white line. I'm going to drive my knob down that white line, and then the bat is going to naturally follow through the zone. All right? Hope that makes sense. If that made sense, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. If not, I will hit a different angle to make sure you understand that concept. All right? Because the first thing that always happens when we're staying inside the ball, very first thing that happens is you're going to get to connection. Okay? If your knob or your hands go out away from your body as that first move, you're done. All right? You're going to get jammed. You're going to get weak rollovers to the pull side, and you're going to be easy outs. All right? Some more questions. Would you suggest using the – oh, I already answered that one. Yep. What advice would you give a kid with a mental approach? I'm about to hit on the mental approach. Is there anything we should follow along with while you're doing stuff? What do you mean by that? We hit on concrete and use sidewalk chalk. Andrew, yep. I said anything visual that you can tell the kid to take your hands down that line. Like I said, we're not pushing our hands through that zone. We are just pulling to get the connection. And then once you're in that spot, you're inside the ball, the barrel is naturally going to follow through it. Okay. So when I'm hitting off of a tee, I don't think about ball on the tee. I don't think about hitting the ball. The only thing I think of as a hitter is getting connected and staying inside the ball. Because I know if I get connected first, I know everything else in my swing is going to happen naturally. All right. So that's where I say simplify things. So in my head, I'm only thinking of that first move because I know if I get on the right track, everything else is going to happen. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Son kept his hands inside yesterday and just dragged the barrel with no whip. Frankie, like I said, I would like to see a video of that because obviously you can keep your hands inside the ball, but you could be pulling off with your front shoulder, which is causing that bat to drag. A lot of kids have the issue of pulling off with their front shoulder, and we're also going to get into that as well today. All right. So that's where I would love to see a video of it to where we can diagnose that, because if your hands are inside the ball, but your shoulder stays on it, you stay square, you're going to drive through that ball and get the proper extension. All right. Should we follow along with the drills you're doing? No, you don't have to. That's up to you. I said this is more so just information for you to kind of get a grasp of. And we also have free drills and stuff inside of our CamWood app. So once I get done talking about the information, you can always go into the CamWood app and you have access to the drills that I'm going to talk about. Okay. So, all right. Questions are good. We're good to go. Thumbs up. Good. All right. So we just talked about the number one key to hitting is staying inside the ball, right? So now the question of, obviously you understand how important it is. You have to stay inside the ball to be a complete hitter. Well, how do I do it? Right? And that was always the question that I had, was like, okay, hit the ball to the opposite field. Well, how? I don't know how, right? So there's two ways to teach how to stay inside the ball. Okay. Obviously, the first thing is the most obvious. It's going to be drill work. Okay. We have specific set of drills that we teach to take a kid from basically the basics, the fundamentals, and teaching them how to stay inside the ball, how to sync their body up the right way to be consistently staying inside the ball and driving the ball gap to gap with power. And we teach these drills inside of our All-American 30-day program with our coaching with me and Wes Helms and a bunch of other professional players inside of the app. But the first thing is obviously the drills that we teach, but the second thing is something that no one really talks about, okay? And the second thing is what really took my career to that next level, okay? Obviously, the drills help, the drills work, but the second thing that I'm about to hit on is going to be what will elevate those drills, and that thing is your approach, okay? A lot of players will talk about mechanics. All these hitting gurus are all mechanical. It's mechanics, right? No one really talks about the mental side of the at-bat, okay? And I will tell you right now, your approach can change your mechanics, okay? I want to reiterate that. Your approach, what you're thinking about in the box, can change your mechanics, all right? So whenever I learned this, I remember like Frank, he would be working with me. It's my senior season of high school at this point, and we would be in practice. He's teaching me this approach of look away to drive away and react to anything inside. Okay. So we're in practice, and Frank is tossing me away, and I'm driving balls to the opposite field gap, just like I'm supposed to. I mean, crushing the ball to the opposite field gap. And for some reason, I would always get into the game and I would revert back to what I was comfortable with. I would get into the games and I would try to pull the ball again. And Frank's in the stands and he can 100% tell what I'm trying to do up at the plate, right? So before one of my games, he sits me down. He pulls up a chair. I mean, we're knee to knee. Like we're right up on each other, right? And I remember him saying, if you don't focus on what I'm trying to teach you, I'm going to quit working with you. All right. So I had this guy that finally was trying to teach me and invest time in me to teach me how to hit. And I saw such good results. And now he's threatening to stop working with me because I wouldn't take his approach to the end game at bats. And it always reverts back to, okay, like, well, why am I trying to pull the ball? Right. And like I said earlier, it's because I thought that was the only way that I could do damage. I thought it was the only way I was able to hit the ball with power or hit a home run was to pull it. All right. So I would get into games and I would always go back to trying to pull. So I told Frank, I was like, all right, Frank, I promise this game, I will focus on the approach. I'll look for the fastball away to drive away and I'll react inside. All right. So literally very first at bat of the game, I get up there, pitcher throws me a fastball up and out over the plate. And because I was thinking it and I was looking for it, I drove that ball to the right center field off the wall for a double. All right. So literally, I remember standing at second base like, holy crap, I can hit the ball with power to the opposite field. All right. And that at bat right there literally unlocked my career. Okay. Because not only could I hit the ball with power and hit home runs to the pull side, I could just as easy take that outside pitch and hit it with power to the opposite field gap, which opened up the entire field for me. Okay. So the reason that approach, the look fastball away, drive away, and react inside, the reason that can change your mechanics is because it's going to keep your front shoulder on the ball. All right. So I want to hit on that just a little bit more because we're talking approach and how this can help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Drill Pro tee here and I'm going to set up an outside pitch and an inside pitch. All right. Boom, boom, boom. That's why, wait, I need to flip this around. I have my handy dandy CamWood tee here. So this is our Drill Pro tee. And the reason a lot of people like this tee, obviously, is because you can set up multiple different drills with one tee base. All right. So red is for righties, yellow is for lefties. So what I'm setting up right here is an inside pitch and an outside pitch at the same time. All right. So we have our stems set up here. I'm going to set up my outside pitch and set up my inside pitch. Bada boom, bada bang. All right. So the number one issue players have when they're trying to pull the ball. Why is pulling the ball such a bad thing from an approach standpoint? Is it's not keeping our front shoulder on the ball. Okay. So if I'm in my stance here and I'm trying to pull this ball, what I have to do is I have to get my bat head out fast, right? I got to get that bat head out there in order to try to pull these balls to the pull side. So what has to happen is my front hip and my shoulder are going to have to leak in order for me to get my bat head into the zone. Okay. So when I do that, my shoulder flies off, my front hip leaks at contact. Instead of driving through this ball, I'm cutting across the ball. Okay. You'll see a lot of players in today's game have this problem. They get to contact and they're pulling left instead of getting to contact and driving through it. Okay. And that's why hitters struggle when they're trying to pull, because their bat's in the zone and straight out of the zone right away. Okay. The amount of time that their barrel's in the hitting zone is very minimal. And that's why Wes calls them cube hitters, because you're hitting in a cube, right? Your timing has to be perfect to barrel that ball up. All right. But here's where having an approach of driving the ball to the opposite field gap is going to keep our front shoulder on the ball. Okay. So if I'm looking fastball away to drive away, well, whenever I load, I'm right here. My front shoulder is going to stay square. I'm staying on this pitch, and I'm able to get the proper rotation with the back hip, and I'm able to drive that ball to the opposite field gap if I get that pitch on the outer half, right? Well, if I'm looking for this ball in the outer half and they throw me inside, well, what do? Right? So if you're looking opposite field, I'm looking away to drive away. If they throw me inside, all it is a reaction. I'm looking opposite field here. If they throw me in, all I have to do is get a little bit more rotation with my back hip. All right. So we're boom away. Oh, he threw me in. Little bit more rotation with the back hip is going to allow my hands to stay inside the ball. And now I can catch that out front and I'm able to drive that to left center field gap. Okay. But if I'm thinking of pulling off the ball, my front shoulder is leaking. If I get to right here, I'm cutting across instead of getting to that inside pitch and driving through it. Okay. That's the difference between this inside pitch having good backspin like we want, or side spin or top spin, which we do not want. Okay. So a lot of players that have that top spin or that side spin to the pull side, it's because their front shoulder is flying off the ball. All right. And a lot of players have that issue. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So whenever we're swinging, I'll iterate this too. I'll be right here. Players have an issue with this front shoulder pulling off the ball, right? So you might be thinking, well, Trey, when you swing, your front shoulder is rotating, right? Yes, you're going to get rotation with your front shoulder, with your upper body, but it's going to happen naturally, okay? When we're hitting, our rotation in our swing comes from our back hip, all right? So I want to reiterate that. The rotation from your swing comes from your back hip, not your upper body, okay? Because if you're thinking of rotating off with your upper body, you're going to get in the zone and you're going to go straight out of the zone, cutting across the ball. But if you get your rotation with your back hip, your shoulder is going to naturally come out, but your bat is going to stay in the hitting zone all the way through extension. Okay? So please understand that. When you're rotating with your back hip, not your front shoulder. All right? So whenever my players are hitting, they're struggling with the inside pitch. Most players struggle with getting the proper rotation on the inside pitch, because if you don't get your full rotation on the inside pitch, your hands don't have a clear lane to stay inside the ball. All right? So that's why you come out and then you end up getting jammed, hitting a weak ground ball to the pull side. All right? So you'll hear me say with some of my players, like, your lower half is late, your lower half is late, your lower half is late. Well, the reason for that is because they're not getting the proper rotation to allow their hands to stay inside the ball. All right? Their hands might start leaking or might start firing too early before their hip allows them to get that rotation. All right? So whenever I'm talking to my hitters, I'll say, hey, hit that inside pitch with your back hip. All right? If you focus on hitting that pitch with your back hip, you're going to get that proper rotation. All right? So I hope that makes sense. So the number one key to hitting is staying inside the ball. Okay, how do you do it? Obviously, we have our drills that will teach you how to stay inside the ball. We have those drills inside of our All-American 30-day program. But the second thing that nobody really talks about is your approach, okay? Your approach can change your mechanics at the plate. So the base approach that Frank taught me was look fastball away, drive away, and react to anything inside, okay? So that approach right there, the reason that it works is because it's going to keep your front shoulder on the ball, which is going to help your bat stay in the hitting zone all the way through extension, okay? We're not getting to a contact point and pulling off that ball. We're getting to the contact point and we're driving through that ball, okay? Hope that makes sense. All right, I'll hit some questions real quick. Questions. My son Caleb doesn't believe this is live. Can you give him a hello? Hello, Caleb. Yes, this is 100% live. I could tell you it is 1:41 p.m. right now on the East Coast. Yes, this is live. That's why I do these live, so people like parents and players can come on and interact with me. I said, any questions that you have, Caleb, you have a question? Ask me. Go ahead. I said, that's the reason I do this. Would you recommend the part 2 of the All-American program? Yes. Like I said, the All-American part 2. Part 1 is all about building mechanics. Okay. The 30-day All-American program is about teaching players the proper mechanics of how to stay inside the ball. Okay. So we teach you how to use your lower half and sync it up with your hands in order for you to stay inside the ball consistently. All right. And if you do it right, if you sync your body up the right way, well, now your bat speed, your exit velocities, all that are going to increase as well. So people that go through the All-American 30-day program are seeing about an average of 8.8 miles an hour exit velocity increase in those 30 days, which is insane. So All-American program part 1 is all about teaching the mechanics off of a tee. Part 2 is going to be about, okay, now that we have those mechanics on a tee, let's start transitioning our tee or our swing on the tee to our swing in game. Okay, because what most players do, I was one of them, is I would always revert back to what I was used to doing in-game speed when the ball started moving, and you would start getting caught up in between two swings, which is never a good thing, okay? So All-American Part 2 is going to teach you how to make that transition of the tee work to in-game speed. So we start doing front toss and other balls moving, stuff like that inside the Part 2. So I would recommend that for sure, all right? And we're actually about to refilm a lot of the stuff in there too, so it's good stuff. Let's see, is there a huge difference between baseball and softball training bat? Hugo, the only difference is going to be the weight and the diameter barrel, okay? So the adult softball bat and the adult baseball bat are going to be different. The youth versions are exactly the same, okay? So this is a baseball version right here. The baseball adult hands and speed trainer is going to be a plus 12, okay? So our average is going to be right around that plus 12, which means a 33-inch is going to be about 45 ounces, okay? And the barrel of the bat is going to be 2.5-inch diameter, all right, which is, it mimics a normal baseball bat, okay? Our softball bats are going to be 2.25-inch barrel diameter, which mimics a softball bat, and they're going to be a plus 6 on average, okay? So a 33-inch softball trainer is going to be about 39 ounces instead of 45. All right. So yes, there is a slight difference between the softball and the baseball adult versions of the training bat. Thank you so much, Trey. This is going to help tremendously. Awesome. I appreciate that. ATL on top. I'm a Braves fan as well. So as you know, Wes Helms, our CEO, played for the Braves, which is awesome. Any summer camps this year? Right now, we don't have any planned, but we are thinking about having a big camp in Alabama. I don't know if it'll be during the summertime, but we are working some stuff out to where we'll have a complex to have a big CamWood camp with all of our elite coaches. So we are working on that right now, but no dates or anything specific. What's the difference between having a regular weight on the bat and having it where the cam bat is? Great question. So I would get into that a little bit later as well when we start talking exit velocity. But whenever you have a donut, all right, I'll start with this way. The one thing you do not want on a baseball bat is for that bat to feel heavy, okay? Because if it's too heavy, I'm not going to be able to control it, and it's going to break down my mechanics, okay? So whenever most players, they do their exit velocity trainings or they do their strength training, they use a heavier bat, right? But instead of having a bat like a CamWood bat, they put all of the weight in the barrel of the bat, right? So it's kind of like a sledgehammer. So if I were to take this sledgehammer right here and I hold it from the handle, all the weight is on the end, right? So if I were to go and take this and I try to hit this ball, this is going to feel way too heavy for me to swing, and I'm not going to be able to control it. It's going to break down my mechanics, right? But if I take this same sledgehammer, the exact same weight, but I hold it from right below the weight instead of on the end of the bat. So now if I take this sledgehammer and I try to swing it, this is much easier for me to control. I'm able to have proper mechanics. I'm able to stay inside the ball consistently, okay? So it's the exact same thing with the CamWood hands and speed trainer. So instead of having the weight and the barrel of the bat, the added weight is right here above the hands. So the CamWood doesn't feel as heavy as it actually is. Okay. So the CamWood Hand and Speed Trainer allows you to train with that heavier bat, which is going to build your strength. It's going to build your exit velocity. It's going to build your bat speed, but it's going to be easy to control. It's not going to break down your mechanics. Okay. But if you have a normal bat with the weight all on the end, well, now you're going to be breaking down your mechanics because the bat's too heavy for you to control it. All right. So that's why I don't like donuts. I don't like putting weights on bats in the barrel because I'm breaking down my swing before I even get up to the plate. All right. So whenever I was in college, and I was actually talking to Wes about this yesterday because he's talking to some MLB teams and they're working on getting their hands through the zone a little bit quicker. And I'm like, they need to have this bat on deck. Like the Hands and Speed Trainer is a perfect on deck bat for you to use before you go up to the plate. It's going to reassure your mechanics. It's going to speed your hands up before you get there. All right. So I highly recommend using a bat like this on deck instead of putting a donut on the bat or something like that. All right. So I hope that makes sense. So you don't want the weight on the end of the bat because it's going to feel way too heavy. Your mechanics are going to break down. You're going to start coming around the ball. You're not going to be able to control it. All right. So we talked about the number one key to hitting is staying inside the ball, right? Obviously, the way to do that is through drill work, or the second way to do that is through your approach. Look fastball away, drive away, react to anything inside. It's going to help keep the front shoulder on the ball, which is going to help your mechanics stay inside it and get the proper extension through it to drive the ball to all parts of the field with power. All right. And the second thing that we just kind of hit on right there is kind of your exit velocities. Okay. So whenever you're trying to increase your exit velo, you want to train with a heavier bat. Okay. But the issue is most heavy bats are all end loaded. So all the weight on the end of the bat, it's going to break down your swing because it feels way too heavy. Okay. So that's why when we do our exit velocity work, we always train with the CamWood Hands and Speed Trainer because this is a heavier bat. It's an overload bat, but all of the weight is right here above the hands instead of in the barrel. Okay. So this bat is going to, it's going to feel much lighter than it actually is. It's going to allow us to swing it just like our normal bat, but it's going to build our strength while we're doing it. Okay. So it's going to build our strength. It's going to build our power because we're moving heavy objects fast. Okay. So power is the ability to move a heavy object fast. All right. That's why players want to use a heavier bat because the more mass they have behind their swing, the more performance they're going to get whenever they square one up. That's why your guys like Chipper Jones, your Julio Francos, your Cansecos, all those guys use like logs as bats because the more mass you have behind it, and if you're able to swing that bat quickly, the more power you're going to have. All right. Because the ball just trampolines off. All right. So let me see another question coming in. My son refuses to wear gloves, so I wrapped his CamWood with a thin lizard skin. Do you have any advice on wrapping the CamWood? On wrapping it, I never wrapped the CamWood because I was a batting gloves and pine tar kind of guy. So all of my CamWoods were just nothing. All I had was the piece of black tape right here above the hands to help with the durability of the bat. But I would just use some pine tar. So do I have any recommendations on wrapping a CamWood? I mean, obviously we use twin tack now, but like I said, the main thing is just making sure that the player's comfortable. Like I said, if you like a grip, use a grip. If you don't like grips, go bare hands, go whatever's comfortable to you. All right. That is a player preference. So for me, I was a pine tar kind of guy, but now I don't really hit as much. So I do have a grip on my CamWood. It's one of the twin tacks because we do partner with twin tack. So it's just like I said, it's a new different type of rubber that they use in their grips that I like. Like I said, it just feels good. And I'm able to not use batting gloves and still hit with these twin tack grips. So it works for me. If I was hitting a lot more, I would have my pine tar and my batting gloves like I normally did, but I'm not swinging enough to do that. So I hope that makes sense. All right. Last thing I want to touch on. Like I said, we've been going for about 55 minutes now. So if y'all have any questions, please get in the comment section and ask. All right. Last thing I want to touch on is having a hitting routine. Okay. Most players that I hit with or that I see out on the field, They don't have a routine that they're following on a daily basis. Okay. So I remember getting into college. Like I said, I walked on at a junior college my first year, and I walked on at South Georgia. Like I said, it's a JUCO down in the middle of nowhere in Georgia. And I get on campus. I'm the number 3 first baseman, right? As you know, if you're a walk-on, the scholarship players are going to get all the opportunities first, okay? Because the coach is investing in those players. So they're going to get every opportunity known to man before you get your shot. So whenever I get to college, I'm not getting the same amount of reps that everybody else is getting, okay? So I had to have a hitting routine that I did before practice or after practice every single day to get my work in, okay? So whenever I was growing up, I was always a fat kid, right? I mean, a lot of people struggle with their weight, obviously, but I feel like anything I did, I could not get the weight off. And I remember seeing my buddy one day, and I hadn't seen him for about 2 months, and I noticed he lost a ton of weight. I'm like, dude, what have you been doing, right? So he told me that he went on bodybuilding.com and he found a free workout that he was just following day by day. So I was like, hey, do you mind sending that over to me? Because I want to try to do it, right? You know, he saw results. Maybe I could see some results doing it. So he sent me the workout plan, and sure enough, it had a video every single day showing you exactly what workouts to do, how many sets to do, how many reps, everything laid out for you right there. All you have to do is just follow it straight down the line, right? So over those next 90 days, I followed this workout plan, and I ended up losing 30 pounds. So finally, I saw something worked for me. And the reason that it worked is because I knew exactly what I was doing every day when I stepped foot in the gym. Okay. That plan and that program held me accountable through those 90 days. And I ended up seeing the results. So I get to my first year of college at South Georgia, and I'm like, okay, I saw that this worked for me losing weight. I bet this would work for hitting as well. Right. So I created a hitting routine off of the drills that Frank taught me. And I would do these routines every day before practice or after practice. I'm getting my swings in. So whenever I do have the opportunity, I'm able to take advantage of it. And we get into our first fall ball game. Our starting first baseman rolls over to the shortstop. He tries to leg one out, and he reaches for the bag at first base and hyperextends his knee and tears his ACL. So he's out for the year. So just like that, I'm catapulted up. I'm now the backup. So the new starter, a couple of weeks later, gets popped for selling drugs. So he was the campus drug dealer, and he ended up getting caught. So he got kicked off the team. So now I'm launched straight up into the starting role. And because I had a hitting routine, because I had a plan, I was prepared when my number was called. And I ended up leading my team in every offensive category that season, being all conference, all that good stuff. And I attribute that success to the hitting plan that I had. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share you my hitting plan, and I'm going to show you exactly how I lay it out. That way you can just take this structure. You can go create your own hitting plans. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I want to walk you through kind of what a daily hitting plan that I would do looks like. All right. So I hope that this is valuable for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Boom, boom, boom. And what we're going to do is we're going to come here inside the CamWood app. Okay. So this is the CamWood app. We're building a new app right now, which should be going live in about 3 to 4 weeks or so. But this is the current active app that we have. All right. So if I come in here to the programs tab, I'm just going to scroll down to the All-American 30-Day program so I can show you what it looks like. All right. So if I come here to the All-American 30-Day program, I'm just going to scroll down to like day number 17. All right, so just some random day. And you see that we have our workout right here, okay? So you see our top 4 drills. I call it our core 4. I do our core 4 drills every single day when I step foot in the cage, okay? And the reason I do these 4 drills is because it is it's reassuring my mechanics. It's making sure that my mechanics are synced up properly, and I'm consistently staying inside the ball before I get into more specialty work, okay? So I want to warm up my hands. I want to warm up my lower half. I want to make sure my body is working the right way before I get into my specialty work for that day, okay? So you can see our bottom hand no stride, our 2-hand no stride, the step back, and the knob to knee. Those are our core 4 drills that are going to teach our body how to sync up properly in order to be consistent with our mechanics for the workout that day, okay? And as you can see here, They're just 10 swings each. All right. I'm not over here doing a full bucket of these drills every day. Okay. The key here is going to be consistency. All right. So if I do 10 swings, I'm 5 and 5. I'm 50-50. 5 good swings, 5 bad swings. That's not good enough. Okay. So I might stick on that drill for like 5 or 10 more swings to make sure that I'm consistent before I move on to the next piece. Okay. But if I do those 10 swings and I'm 7, 8 out of 10 good, we're good to go. I'll move into the next drill. Okay. So the whole key with our core 4 drills are going to be to get our body warmed up, get our body synced up and moving the right way. Okay. So we want to make sure our consistency is there before we move into our specialty work. So after you do your core 4, let's just say that I'm struggling with an inside pitch. I'll do my core 4 drills first, and then I'll start working on some other drills to work on the inside pitch, so on and so forth, whatever I need to work on, right? So I just wanted to show you that, you're not coming in here, you're not spending 2 hours in a cage. I might go step in the cage and go 30, 40 minutes, and that's it, okay? I just want to make sure that I have quality swings and I'm being consistent, all right? So like I said, we're going to do our core 4 drills, and then we're going to hit our specialty work for that day, all right? So I hope you can see this very simple layout right here is all you need to help you progress through becoming a complete hitter, okay? Because it's going to hold you accountable. It gives you a plan. It gives you a guide. It gives you a recipe for you to follow every day when you step foot in the cage. And I'm telling you, if you implement a hitting routine, it's going to take your game to the next level, okay? So you can take this type of structure, go create your own hitting routine, okay? Go create it. But if you want the routine that we've already created, you can have access to our routine through the All-American 30-Day Program, okay? And as you can see, we have everything laid out. Have your swing, or your reps, your drills, your swings, everything that you need to take you from point A to becoming a complete hitter in just those 30 days, okay? So we teach you how to stay inside the ball. So you have your workouts showing you exactly what to do, and then we have the videos underneath it that demonstrate the drill and show you exactly what we're looking for, what we're thinking of while we're doing these drills, okay? And that's why I like this dynamic, is because Wes comes in. If you don't know Wes played 12 years in the major leagues, okay? So he won a World Series with the Phillies, a Silver Slugger hitter in the MLB. Wes knows a ton about hitting. So Wes is coming in from a coach's or a parent's perspective. So he's talking about what he's looking for as a coach or as a parent, and then I come in as the hitter, and I teach you what I'm thinking of as the hitter while I'm doing the drills, okay? So it's a really good dynamic back and forth. So we show you the workout. We give you the workout. We also show you the drills and show you exactly how to do the drills to make sure you're doing them the right way. So, and if you're not doing the drills correctly, or you want to know if you're doing the drills correctly, we give you access to us as coaches inside the CamWood community, okay? So you can come to our private chat rooms, like the All-American Program chat room, go to the baseball tab, and you can see here, you're able to upload videos and you're able to get critiques live from the coaches, okay? So me, Wesley Jr., all of our CamWood coaches are inside of this chat room to where you're able to upload the video and we're able to critique you, making sure you're doing the drills the right way, okay? So you're not doing this stuff on your own. We help guide you through this process to make sure that you get the results, all right? So like I said, the importance of learning how to stay inside the ball, you can learn that inside the All-American 30-Day Program and get access to us as coaches to make sure you're doing the drills the right way, all right? And at the end of those 30 days, you will see crazy results if you follow it, all right? So we've been going for about an hour and 4 minutes now. So now it's opened up to Q&A. That's my rant for the day. I always try to stick it to right around an hour because I know everybody's busy. So now that I'm done with my little spill, I'm going to open it up for any Q&As that y'all have. If you have any questions at all, please get in the comment section and ask me right now. I want to make sure everybody's questions get answered before I end this live stream, okay? And if no questions are coming in, we will go ahead and end the live for today. So if y'all have any questions at all, questions about hitting, questions about our bats, questions about the programs, literally anything that you can think of, please ask. That way I can make sure that everyone has the information that they're looking for. All right. Is the membership for lifetime or is it just 30 days? That's a good question. So if you purchase the All-American 30-Day Program by itself, if you purchase the program, you get access to the program forever. Okay. You're purchasing the rights to that program. But the CamWood Elite is what you're talking about. The CamWood Elite membership, that is going to be a membership where you don't just get access to the hitting, you get access to all of our programs. Okay. So I'll show you that real quick. Inside the CamWood Elite, obviously you saw that we have our hitting programs, but the CamWood Elite is going to give you access to everything. You have your hitting, you have infield programs, pitching programs, catching programs, strength and conditioning, throwing, the mental mindset of the game. As a member of the Elite, you get access to every program that we have. But yes, it is a $97 a month membership, to where if you unsubscribe from the membership or you leave, you will lose access to all of the programs. Okay. But if you go in and you purchase the All-American program outright, then you can own that forever. Okay. So let me go to our website real quick and I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to baseball, if you're softball, go to softball. But if I go to coaching programs and I go to baseball programs, you'll see we have the option for the baseball CamWood Elite membership, but we also have the option for the baseball All-American 30-day package. Okay. So if you were to buy the All-American 30-day hitting package that I have highlighted here for $297, you're going to have access to the All-American 30-day program forever. Okay. If we come in and we update it later, you're going to get access to the new update. Okay. And say you go to the program, you see great results, and the next off season you want to get started back up again, you're able to log right back in and you're able to access it again next season. Okay. So like I said, you have access to the program forever if you purchase it individually. But if you come here and you do the CamWood Elite membership for $97 a month, you get access to all of our programs, not just hitting, but all of our hitting programs, all of our infield programs, pitching programs, and anything that we add to the Elite. Okay. But you only have that access as long as you're a member of the CamWood Elite. If you leave, then you're going to lose access to all of that, all of those programs and all those coaches. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. But if you want access to the All-American 30-day program forever and access to the coaches for the All-American 30-day program forever, you would get the standalone package, not the membership. All right. So I hope that makes sense. What are some good fielding drills I can do by myself? That's a great question. So we do have our infield program inside the CamWood Elite that I'm sure you just saw. So Wes Helms played 12 years in the majors. He was a third, like a utility guy in the infield. Played third base, played a little bit of second, played first base, and he actually got drafted as a shortstop. So Wes played all over the infield, and he is our coach inside of the CamWood Elite for the infield section of it. Okay, so Wes has his infield programs right there that you can easily follow. But there's a lot of good drills that you can do by yourself. Like you said, you throw balls off the wall and just have the proper form, right? You know, catching the ball in the middle of your body, making sure your technique and all that stuff's good. But that's one thing that I love about the CamWood Elite is it gives you access to someone like Wes Helms, who played 12 years in the majors, to be able to critique your infield mechanics. I will go ahead and tell you, I am not the guy to teach you infield. You don't want me teaching you infield. All right. When it comes to hitting, I can teach you hitting, but you do not want me to teach you infield, pitching, especially how to run. You definitely don't want me to teach you how to steal bases. So that's why that whenever I created the CamWood Elite, I wanted to bring in experts at every single position, teaching you their position. Okay. So just like our pitching program, we have Matt Guerrier, who pitched 10 years in the major leagues, teaching pitching, right? I wanted to make sure that we have former MLB players and experts teaching their exact position. Same thing with the softball. We have professional softball players teaching you their exact position on the softball side. So I brought in an awesome staff of coaches to teach their specific position. So that's where, like, inside the CamWood Elite, me and Wes Helms, we partnered together on it. And whenever I went to Wes with this idea, he was like, I know exactly who to bring on. So Wes went out and grabbed the coaches, brought them into the CamWood Elite, and it's been awesome since we launched it. So some good fielding drills that you can do. I personally don't know too many fielding drills, but if you ask Wes, he would have a bunch of drills that you'd be able to do because I'm not an infielder. I was stuck at first base just because of my bat. That was it. Any other questions? So if we don't have any questions coming in, then we will end the live stream. I purchased the All-American program some years ago, and we used it for 30 days, and it really did help tremendously, and we stopped, and time got away. The links may be old because it says page not found. How can I regain access? If you reach out to our support, we'll be able to track your order and tag you in the app for it. I just posted our email, so it's support@camwoodbats.com. If you reach out to that email and you tell my brother is the one that does the support. So if you tell him that you ordered the All-American program and you can't access it, if you give him your order number, he'll be able to look it up to make sure that you did purchase it. And then we're able to tag you in our system through your email for you to log into the app and be able to access it. So like I said, we've had over like 40,000 people do that All-American 30-day program at this point. So we have people all the time asking how to regain access. So yeah, just reach out to support and we'll get you squared away. All right. If there's no other questions coming in, we will end the live stream for today. I said, hopefully everyone in here learned something about hitting today. I have noticed recently that I'm not following through the ball with power. How do I fix that? Depends on what the issue is. That's where I would like to see a video of your swing inside the app to where we're able to critique it and see exactly what you're doing. If you're not having power, you're probably not getting the proper extension through the ball. Like just off the top of my head, that's what most players struggle with, is keeping that bat on plane all the way through extension. Their front shoulder leaks and they want to cut across the ball as opposed to driving through it. And that's a big power piece. Like I said, Ken Griffey always said, Griffey on MLB Network said he's not a power hitter. He's a line drive hitter that gets good extension. Okay. Getting the proper extension is what's going to have that power to drive the ball into the gaps. Okay. And once you understand how to keep your bat on plane through extension, that's when you're going to be catching those balls out front and getting massive, massive power. Because some of the longest home runs that I hit in my career, I'm full out front, but because my bat stayed on plane, stayed in the zone, I caught that thing out front and launched it. All right. I still remember one of my longest home runs I ever hit was on an off-speed pitch that I was fooled on, and I just flicked my hands at it and launched it. But that's because my front shoulder didn't pull off, and I was able to keep my bat in zone even though I was fooled. Awesome. Yep. Send a video in the app. Like I said, we have coaches in there. And if, like I said, if you're inside the CamWood Elite membership, you'll get access to Wes as the coach, and Wes will be interacting with you one-on-one inside of there too. So if you want to get access to a 12-year big leaguer about hitting, get inside the Elite. I wish I had that kind of access whenever I was younger. All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all joining. I'll be doing this again live next week. So if you have any friends or family or teammates that you think could benefit from this, let them know to follow us, join us next week, and be able to ask me questions live. And hopefully everybody in here got a little bit better today. So with that, if you're a golfer, go watch the Masters. But if not, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you inside the CamWood app.